The headlines screamed from every screen. Markets in free fall, Saudi Arabia and Qatar joining BRICS, the dollar's dominance ending. On trading floors worldwide, panic set in as the Dow plunged over 1,000 points at the opening bell. For decades, oil was priced in dollars. This morning, that rule was shattered. In a joint statement from Beijing, Saudi Arabia and Qatar declared their entry into BRICS Plus and their acceptance of the Chinese yuan for oil and gas exports. The world was stunned. The US dollar, the bedrock of global trade, was directly challenged. The dollar index suffered its steepest drop ever, while the yuan surged to record highs. Brent crude oil prices skyrocketed as traders scrambled to grasp the implications. The certainties of yesterday vanished, replaced by volatility and uncertainty. This was the result of years of quiet maneuvering by BRICS nations, now joined by two energy giants. The vision of an alternative to the Western-led financial system had become reality. The move struck at the heart of American economic power, signaling the end of a single dominant global currency. A new, multipolar world was dawning, and its birth was turbulent for all. The aftershocks were immediate and profound, shaking financial markets across the globe. The era of the petrodollar was over. A new order was taking shape. The world's economic center of gravity was shifting eastward. The questions were many, but the answers were few, and the future unpredictable. The global financial system had entered uncharted territory. The age of dollar supremacy had ended overnight. To grasp today's upheaval, we must look back 50 years. After the 1973 oil crisis, the US and Saudi Arabia struck a deal. Oil would be priced in dollars, and the US would provide security. This petrodollar system created relentless global demand for US currency. Nations needed dollars to buy oil, so they bought US debt, funding American spending and keeping interest rates low. The dollar became a tool of immense geopolitical power, enabling Washington to impose sanctions and shape global finance. American consumers enjoyed cheaper imports, and New York reigned as the world's financial capital. No other currency came close to challenging the dollar's dominance. But this power bred resentment. For China and Russia, the dollar was a strategic vulnerability. Their economies were tied to US monetary policy and could be cut off by Washington at any time. They saw the petrodollar as an instrument of American empire, not a global good. Quietly, they began building an alternative, waiting for the right moment. That moment has now arrived. The petrodollar system's unipolar world is ending. The rules of global finance are being rewritten. The dollar's era of unrivaled supremacy is over. The world is entering a new phase, one defined by competition, not control. The consequences will be felt everywhere. In Beijing's Great Hall of the People, the symbolism was unmistakable. Saudi and Qatari leaders stood with China, Russia, and other BRICS nations, signing a new alliance. This was more than a trade deal. It was a declaration of a new axis of power. The petro-yuan was born, offering a large-scale alternative to the dollar for energy trade. China can now buy oil with its own currency, and Gulf states can use yuan to buy Chinese goods, bypassing the Western financial system. For the US and Europe, these images were unsettling, a sign that old alliances were shifting. The promise of military security was no longer enough to guarantee economic loyalty. The world's largest energy producers had placed their bets on the East. The ceremony marked the formal debut of a parallel universe for global trade. The global economic center was moving eastward. The West watched as a new order took shape. This is the moment China has been preparing for, a leap toward making the yuan a true global currency. By convincing Saudi Arabia and Qatar to accept yuan for oil, China instantly created massive demand for its currency. Nations now have a real alternative to the dollar for energy trade. For China, this means less reliance on the US dollar and greater control over its economic destiny. The petro-yuan insulates China from dollar fluctuations and US sanctions. Shanghai and Hong Kong will now compete with New York and London as global financial centers. International companies will need yuan reserves and access to Chinese markets. The world's economic integration with China will deepen. For BRICS and the Global South, the petro-yuan offers a choice: trade and invest without Western pressure. Russia, Brazil, and India can now bypass the dollar for energy and trade. The petro-yuan is the cornerstone of a new financial architecture for the non-Western world. China is now a true peer competitor to the United States. The global balance of power is shifting. Saudi Arabia and Qatar's decision was the result of years of strategic calculation. U.S. security guarantees seemed less reliable as Washington's focus shifted away from the Middle East. Both nations have ambitious plans to diversify their economies, and China is a critical partner in that transformation. Accepting the yuan is a strategic investment in their future. By joining BRICS and embracing the yuan, they assert their sovereignty and gain leverage with both East and West. This move allows them to balance relationships, not abandon old allies. They are positioning themselves to thrive in a multipolar world. Economic growth and innovation are shifting eastward, and they want a foothold in that future. This is not betrayal, but pragmatism, a calculated move to secure prosperity and influence. The Gulf states are no longer junior partners, they are architects of their own destiny. The world is changing, and they are determined to shape it. Their decision signals a new era of strategic autonomy. The future belongs to those who adapt. The global consequences are immediate and profound. The U.S. faces higher borrowing costs and weaker sanctions as demand for the dollar wanes. American consumers may see higher prices as the dollar's purchasing power drops. Russia and Iran, long isolated by sanctions, are now part of a growing bloc insulated from U.S. pressure. Europe and Japan must navigate a new landscape, balancing U.S. security with economic ties to the East. The Global South gains new options, with BRICS offering alternative financing and trade frameworks. The rise of the petro-yuan gives developing nations more bargaining power. The shift away from a single reserve currency could bring volatility and risk. Competing economic blocs may emerge, threatening global cooperation. The stability of the dollar-based system is not easily replaced. The world is entering uncharted territory. The reorganization of global power will be turbulent. The risks are high, but so are the stakes. The future of global finance hangs in the balance. We stand at the dawn of a new economic era. The unipolar moment of dollar dominance is over. A multipolar world is emerging. The effects are already being felt. Markets are volatile, prices are rising, and uncertainty is everywhere. Competing reserve currencies could make the world less stable, with new risks for business and consumers. The risk of rival economic blocs is real, threatening innovation and growth. Managing this transition will require wisdom and diplomacy. Yet, this new era also brings opportunity. A more balanced global system could be fairer and more responsive to diverse needs. Competition may force greater fiscal discipline and innovation. The Global South gains a stronger voice in shaping the rules. The challenge is to manage this shift peacefully and constructively. The old order is fading, but the new one is not yet formed. How we navigate this moment will shape the future of prosperity and peace. The world is watching, and history will judge our choices.